Yo, what's good, everyone? I want to welcome everybody back to the No Level Cap podcast. I am Sage Ashford. This is the No Level Cap crew where we talk about all the anime, all the gaming, and none of the bullshit. We're back with episode 11. No Level Cap goes live every Monday. If you prefer the video version, we're on YouTube. And if you're a fan of the audio, we are live on Spotify as well. We put up bite-sized versions of our podcast on TikTok if you're a millennial or a Gen Zer and your attention span is all fucked up. Uh, so this week, I decided, like, speaking of TikTok, I was like scrolling through TikTok as I've become disturbingly a fan of. It's miserable. It's worse than Twitter. Don't do it. But I ran across this TikTok of like anime characters that you can't forgive, and I was like, yeah, there are a lot of those, and I didn't want to just be anime characters you can't forgive, but also like most hated anime characters. Like if you've watched the anime long enough, it's a given you're not gonna like every character. Some characters though, they go beyond, they go above and beyond. They go into the realm of like it's beyond you don't like them, like you just fucking hate them. Like every time they on the screen, you feel your blood pressure tick up a couple of points. And I know everybody got a couple of characters like that. For me, it tends to come down to a variety of factors though. Like either they didn't want to accept they loss and they still just trying to like make somebody else lose even though they already got their ass beat, or they were just a pain in the ass for no reason at all. You just like, okay, bro, like give it a rest. Like we get it. Like whatever you mad about, we get it, but it's time to move on. Like the show is about something else now. Like that type shit. And so like I did want to ask, like I know everybody at first, y'all were kind of male on the topic, but it seems like once I gave y'all enough time to think about it, everybody kind of came up with some answers. And I am quite curious as to see what everybody came up with. So Rakeem, I want to get your answer first. Like, what's a character that you can't stand, like a motherfucker that you hate?
So as soon as you gave me this topic, I thought about a character. I was thinking in my head, villains, villains, villains. I'm like, no, that is not always the case. So the character I wanted to talk about today was Mineta from My Hero Academia.
Oh,
That character just makes me uncomfortable every single time he comes on screen. I get it. He's comic relief. He's there to relieve tension. There's a lot of tense moments in the show. They want to, kind of have something for lighter hearted that builds on stuff for kids like. But the way he goes about approaching women and like the super pervy stuff, as we've discussed in previous podcasts, check those podcasts out. Problematic elements of animes we love. Mineta is that for me. When he's on screen, I'm thinking, man, this guy should be in jail. Like he's getting to the point where
oh shit.
there's episodes where it's like, oh, that's adorable, it's cute, whatever. There's episodes like, dude, you trying to touch those girls and it's not cool. And of course, they get the anime come up and oh, he gets smacked upside the face and slapped. Oh, the girls tell him about himself. But come on, man, it's bringing back the same joke over and over again. And in the first season, it's whatever. You're introduced to the character, you get used to him. But after he keeps keeping his character traits season after season after season, there's no development for the character. He doesn't seem to be like deep. His power isn't that interesting. He's not that useful to the team. I have not caught up on the latest season yet, but so far that's how my perception of him. And I just feel
It
like
ain't no different. It ain't no different.
exactly. And I just feel like, man, like there's so many characters in My Hero Academia you can pull off of. I literally would enjoy this show more if that character was just deleted. If that character just didn't exist or he was moved, it'd be great. So Mineta, get him the fuck out of here. That pervy shit, I'm tired of it. We talked about it with Mushoku Tensei, like how enjoyable that show was, but the pervy elements make me uncomfortable. It's 2022 now. Hey, I know My Academia was written a long time ago. It's got its story, it's got to tell. But in future anime I watch, like,
Ain't
shonen
that long
anime,
ago.
well, that's true. But
That
future
motherfucker
shonen
came
anime I
out in
watch,
2014.
future shonen anime I watch, legitimately, you gotta get characters like this out of here. Especially when they don't even fit the tone of the show anymore. Or the show will go on a different tone or get more serious or go more deep into certain elements, and the character still dragging the show down in old, outdated jokes from 2 seasons ago. Get Mineta out of here. I'm sick of him. Get him out of here. That character. All right. That's all I
You
had
know,
to say about that.
I would have never thought someone would say Mineta on this show, but I mean, I'm not against it, and I can understand why somebody
Exactly.
might say it, just because like he is definitely the most hated character on the show, even more than Bakugo, who I really can't fucking stand. But like, I mean, it's the real funny part that you brought up, like Mineta, and you was like, yeah, I know he's comic relief. I'm like, hell, half the cast is comic relief. Most of them characters are like a gag or some kind of like, oh, I'm invisible but I ain't got no clothes on. Like I'm invisible, but I got clothes on. Like okay, that's a cute little gag. I shoot a laser from my navel. Like okay, that's funny. Like all right, if I shoot it for too long, my stomach hurt. Like all right, bet. My power is that I get hard. Okay. So like, yeah, like all them characters, they all like have some kind of running gag about them. Like, so the fact that they put Mineta in there is kind of wild. And then to make matters worse, it's like, man, like you would think like they would have came out with a way to make this man useful, but he useless. Like there's literally no purpose to that man. Like he throw balls off his head, which is sound like some shit that I would have came up with when I was 12. Exactly. Like my power is I got balls and I throw them. Like, ain't you like an adult? Like, come up with something better than this. It would have been better. Like, I guess he was trying to make it like, oh, well, also he's useless on top of being a pervert. But like, no, how about you just make like it would be better if he was like useful. If he was like cold, but also a pervert, he would at least serve a purpose. But as soon as shit gets serious, just like Rakeem said, he don't fit at all.
He's somewhere hiding. And what's so bad is that those balls stick to stuff. And if he used it too much, it's basically like he's tearing his scalp out. And I'm like, it's crazy to me. Yep.
Will, like, what character, like, do you have a character like along those lines that you just can't stand?
Okay, so the character I'm about to mention is from a quite old show, but he also stems from a visual novel. Not extremely old show, but old in a sense that where it's definitely from a past generation of anime. This lovely show that I watched on my own time called School Days. And we're going to talk about the main character, Makoto Ito.
He got
his. Now, you're right. I was going to get to that. He got his. Now, I watched the show. Never played the VN, but it managed to come in English like many years ago. Like a few years ago. I got it. I bought it. And me and my girlfriend both played that. We played through it, got through a lot of the routes. And I ain't gonna lie to you, a lot of them routes end in straight up death. And yeah, let's just say that this man right here serves absolutely no purpose to the story because one, he bought his bland and straight up wallpaper. He bland as all get out. And they try to call themselves giving him some sort of a personality for liking the girl he wants. That's not your personality, bro. That's just your connection to her at this point. She's more interested in you because of what the fuck she did to you. So, and I'm just like, why are you here? And it gets worse because the anime literally cuts out like a huge chunk of who he becomes over time because he wants this girl, another girl talks to him to help him get with this girl. But this girl started liking him. So he fuck her. And then he try to get with this one, he can't do it. And it becomes such a huge conundrum that basically at the end of it, the girl that he fucked kills him. The girl that he wanted went psycho and kills her because she lied about being pregnant. And she decided to take homeboy's head. She decided to take homeboy's head, put it in a duffel bag, and get on a boat, which spawned a lovely meme known as Nice Boat.
Yeah, I definitely remember that one.
What y'all
and
this was like late 2000s, wasn't it?
It was like 06, 07.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I kid you not, bro. Every time I look at him down, I'm like, you know what? You kind of earned this because you were trying to have your cake and eat it too. And you can't do that, especially not knowing that the girl you want had a hatchet on hand for you. So by all means.
Look, I didn't watch School Days, but like, did he really deserve it? Like, I'm gonna go ahead and ask. Like, okay, yeah, cheating makes you an asshole. Like, there's no question about that. I don't want to hear nobody. There's no defense of cheating. If you cheated in the past, you were an asshole. Just stop being an asshole in the future. But like, do you deserve to be murdered over it?
I'd say. Oh, I guess. Well, I'll let Will answer.
I'll say it like this. In a real life context, no. But in the context of that anime and that visual novel, I'm not gonna lie to you. He got around. No Tupac. He got around. And when I tell you it got around back to the homegirl he wanted, she wasn't okay with none of that. You got in her way, that was your life. Every time.
This sounds really murderous, but I mean, I understand. Like they sometimes slice of life got to hit you with some kind of like wham moment where you just like, I ain't see this coming at all. Just to make sure you paying attention. Yeah, like
it's School Days.
I mean, School Days is legendary. Like it's one of those anime that like it didn't really run all that long, but it didn't have to because like it just like you remember that one moment. It's like Elfen Lied. Like Elfen Lied ran, I think, what 13 episodes or something like that, or 12.
Yeah,
and
12, 13.
People people remember it because it's like, all right, this is a little girl that's like violently murdering people. Like that's gonna stick with you.
Mm-hmm.
Terrence, what's up? Like, give me a character that you don't like, man. What's your number one? We got at least 3 to go through. So what's your number one?
Number one. Well, I thought about tag teaming with Rakim on Mineta. That's actually one of the characters that I picked. So I guess, F it, I'll go ahead and just give my take on it. Although Rakim, I feel like kind of said everything that needed to be said. For me, this topic is interesting because it's not really so much about the characters that I hate, but more so the tropes that come with the character. And that's probably going to be the angle that I'll take it with each character that I have is they all just tied to a trope that I just don't like in anime. And with Mineta, it's just the pervy trope. And like Rakim said, it's really just because it doesn't fit the show that he's in. It just like, I get it. I don't know. It's just I wish one day somebody from Japan could explain to me why tropes like these are still a thing. Like, why is it seen as okay in anime to kind of lean towards like sexual harassment, sexual assault with these characters? Like, I don't get it. I just don't. But in Mineta's case, it just feels like he just doesn't really, his whole vibe just doesn't fit the show that he's in. Like, no one else is really like that. And if there are other characters that are like that, it's only just because they're kind of like playing with Mineta, like what the Electricity dude. Like sometimes he'll kind of join in on the fun, but he's only doing that just because Mineta's making it a thing to begin with. But yeah, I don't really have much to say about it because I feel like Rakim already hit it on the head. But yeah, I'm just not a fan of just pervy characters like that in shows where I just feel like they just don't belong at all. Now, if it's a harem, I can kind of understand in that case because that's the point. But in a show like My Hero, it just feels like, why are you here? And I'm sure there's probably going to be some Mineta defenders that are going to come in and say like, no, you all have the character totally misunderstood. He's not like that. He's like this.
There aren't any Mineta defenders. When I tell you, like, there are people who go, look, I had to drop this show because of Mineta. I'm like, he's not even in the show like that. Like, he's in there enough to get on your nerves, but he's not in the show enough for you to drop it. But
no, I wouldn't drop the show because of him. I mean, yeah, like you said, he's not around enough for that. Yeah, nowhere near enough. But yeah, that's gonna be my first pick is Mineta, just because I really just don't like him. He doesn't really bring anything to the show for me. That the one moment that he had, and I'm not caught up on My Hero. I'm not caught up with like the most recent season, but I've seen at least the first 3 seasons. And I know he had that moment where he fought what's her name? Midnight, the teacher, right? Yeah, when he fought the teacher, he had kind of like his moment that showed that he's more than just the pervy character, but it feels like they didn't really do much more with that. I don't know.
Like you said, a moment.
Yeah, I just don't really care for his character, and that's kind of all I have to say about it.
I mean, I understand. Like, that character's never been enough to like make me hate him. I do understand like what you mean by tropes, and that's honestly a completely different conversation. I feel like Fire Force got ruined by the pervy trope, and y'all all know what character I'm talking about. My first one on the list. Let's just go ahead and get this character out of the way. Somebody else, if you don't have it on your list, I'm surprised, and if you do, I guarantee y'all can pipe in on it. Princess or Queen, like what is it? Princess Malty, whatever.
That's too easy.
I mean, yeah, I had a softball on here. I wanted to because I had some obscure shit. I got like 5 characters on here. 2 of them are relatively obscure. One of them is like a holy shit, what the fuck? And then this one's like my softball. So like this character, y'all look. This character was just unnecessary. Like, I know everybody's like, you need, like, now for me, he needs to have like a reason to be angry. Did he though? Couldn't he have just come into the world like kind of cynical? Like, if you haven't seen Rising of the Shield Hero, the way it works is all these four characters are brought in from, interestingly enough, four different versions of Earth. Like, they're not all from the same Earth. They're from different Earths. If you didn't catch it, go back and rewatch it. They'll tell you they're from different Earths. Like, they're not all from the same Earth. But like, they all come to this Earth, and they all come to this fantasy world, and they're all given this special power. Like, each one of them gets a special weapon that allows them to like fight. But the problem is, for plot reasons, they can't work together. Like, they can only work together when they fight these waves that are threatening the planet. Otherwise, they can't fight together. They can't train. They can't level up together. So they have to have their own parties. And so each of them gets their own party. And the main character now, for me, he gets this the princess. He gets one of the princesses of the kingdom, Melty or whatever her name is. And so like, he's hanging out with her, and he thought like, oh yeah, this is gonna be fire. He spends money, getting them some equipment and all this and that. And then the next day, for whatever reason, she accuses him of sexually assaulting her. He didn't do it. She just did it. She just was like, this seemed like something that would make me, have a fun weekend or whatever. If I ruined a motherfucker's life, I why not? So she accuses this man of rape, and they can't kill him and they can't do anything to him because he is like one of the chosen heroes. They need him to exist to fight back against these waves that are threatening the planet. So they like, all right, look, we can't murder you like we would like, but we can exile you from the kingdom. Like, go figure this shit out yourself. No more support from us. And it's just like, all right, first off, this is bad writing. But it's bad writing on top of bad writing. Because, like, not only is like, okay, first off, you shouldn't be doing false rape stories. Like, false rape isn't, it's not that it's not a thing. It's just it's so statistically unlikely compared to what actually happens with sexual assault that, like, you shouldn't tell stories like that. But, like, worse than that, like, let's go a step further. She's just a fuck character. Like, she trash all the way around. She's always trying to fuck someone over. It's not just now for me. She tries to fuck over her little sister. She tries to fuck over the spear hero after the spear hero is like, oh, it's so horrible that happened to you. I'm gonna look out for you. I'm gonna take care of you. No, she gonna try to screw him over too. Why? Who knows? Just cause like apparently it's not a day for her unless she ruined somebody's life. And I'm like, what in the fuck? Like, why do you exist? Like, what's the purpose of this character other than just to cause chaos and drama? Like, she sucks. And it's like, the show as a whole would have been better without it. Because, like, you get off on the wrong foot, and it's hard to introduce people to that show because it's like, false sexual assault allegations. Like, ugh, like, what kind of writer is this? And then, like, everything else she does doesn't make sense either. So it's just like, you made your show worse just by having her around. And I ain't with that shit. So that's my softball. I got a what the fuck that I'm gonna end the show with, but I mean we got a long way to go. Rakeem, I need character number 2 off your list, bro.
Yes, sir. So character number 2. I'm gonna go with an anime I saw just a few years ago, based off I'm going back to the webtoon well on this one, but this time with Tower of God. There's this character.
Let's go.
There's this character named Rachel, and anybody who's watched this anime, because it's only had one season, or read this manhwa, knows this character. Goodness gracious! So context, because it might not be that well known to the general audience. Tower of God main character is a guy named Bam. Early on, he's introduced as almost like a caveman-like figure. He's new to the world. He doesn't know anybody. He's alone, and this girl Rachel comes to him and basically civilizes him, teaches him how to read, teaches him how to interact with people. So to him, Rachel is his mother. She's his light. She's the person who, like, he saw and, like, opened him up to a wider world. She goes away to get to the Tower of God because she wants to get to the top of the tower, and Bam chases after her. So what makes Rachel such a crap character is because she is, what's the best term I could put this? She has a real problem with Bam superseding her in, like, his powers, his progress, everything, because she wanted to get to the top of the tower, but she didn't realize that Bam would be able to actually surpass her in pace and ability. She thought she could just leave Bam behind and go her own way, and Bam wouldn't let her go. But in the meantime, like, Bam is really, really trying hard to let her reach her goals along the way. At first he's like, let's just go away together and be together. And she's like, no, I gotta get to the top of the tower. Well, he says, look, if I can't get you by yourself, look, we'll get to the top of the tower together. Whatever you need, I got you. We'll set up the rules different. We'll change things up. I'll work with the curator of a tournament and get you there, whatever it needs. And in the end, when Bam goes through so many freaking loopholes to get her up to the tower at the same pace, he really cares for her. She really loves her. She betrays him and tries to kill him. And that's like towards the end of the first season, you realize that Rachel has always had this issue with, because she is talentless or lower in talent than Bam, she sees him as an obstacle rather than a friend, whereas Bam sees her as like a friend. And she like not only betrays him, she destroys his worldview, because his whole perception up to that point was based off gathering allies, working together, teamwork, and she backstabs him. And the anime ends there towards that part, but in the manhwa it continues on, and she becomes even more despicable a character. She murders people, she manipulates people. It's all about her, and I cannot stand her as a result. I guess she's great as a villain, but F her. I don't care if she's a good villain. I freaking hate her, man. It's just the selflessness she shows and the amount of power she lacks and the way she's able to manipulate people, you know, in the absence of her ability to actually do stuff on her own. I hate that as characters. Like people who use other people to get what they want because they don't have the ability themselves. And then look down on people who are actually better than them and try to bring them down to that level. I hate characters like that, personally. That's my personal pet peeve. And she's just a despicable character. So yeah, I guess it would be a softball because I freaking hate that character. I've been reading the manhwa recently, and I still hate her. I hate her every chapter I see her. Like, get her out of here, bro. I'm tired of her, bro. She ain't even really doing nothing no more. Like, to be in competition, she be losing. She can't really outpace the strongest people. I don't know. Now, farther on in manhwa, she might get stronger, but she just sucks. She's not strong. She's petty as hell. She betrayed the one person who cared about her more than anything else on planet Earth. Get that character out of here. F Rachel.
So it's definitely a softball, but here's the thing. I feel like she's the great counterpart to Multi or Melty or whatever the fuck her name is. Because Multi is a badly written character. There's no reason for her to behave like that. She just does. She just can't stand. She just has to keep betraying people. Like she just does it just because like the writer's like, oh, what if I had a character in here that was just a total bitch? And you know, eventually she gets named bitch and yada yada. Like, okay, cool. But it's like, why write like this? Rachel's different. Rachel is very intentionally written, and it's fascinating because when you watch Tower of God, you start to see certain characters understand, I'm not that guy, right. And I'm never gonna be that guy. Like before Rachel does her, you not that guy, my guy. Like right before Rachel does her betrayal, there's a character like an angel, I believe, or a wing dude who like dies, and like he dies thinking that he could have been the main character. He could be that guy. And then there was another chick. I forget her name, and this is actually more to the point. Like you don't remember her name because she didn't have the power. Like she wanted to be the guy. Like she wanted to be the chick. She was gonna go up the tower, climb it. She wasn't that either. And those people, they looked at themselves and they despaired. They were like, "Fuck, I'm not gonna be this person." And Rachel, she also looked at herself and she was like, I can't be that person. But she was like, no, the fuck, I'm not going to just be here getting hold like them other folks, just dying or realizing my weakness and pathetic. No, I'll betray and backstab whoever the fuck I got to backstab. I'm going up that tower. And so it meant, even if it meant betraying the kindest, purest person she ever met, she was like, bet, I'll do that too. And it was crazy because like King said, like, Bam was so pure that he really was like, hey, I'll take you up to the top. And she was like, I don't want that. I don't want to be the sidekick. I don't want to be the side character. Y'all remember that RDC skit where it was like, when you realize the show isn't named after you? That's what she was like. I realized the show wasn't named after me, but fuck that. It's about to be named after me. And so like, yeah, I really do hate Rachel, but I love how she's written because it's a meta idea without breaking the fourth wall. Like they're all recognizing this is where I am in society. This is my place in the hierarchy. And Rachel is the one character that's like, I won't accept that. I don't care where I am in the hierarchy. I'm going to find a way to claw and scrape up there by whatever means possible. And by the way, if you haven't seen Tower of God, and it sounds like I'm making Rachel sound like a bat. No. When you watch it, you still gonna hate the bitch. Like, it ain't no way for you to fucking like her. Like, she's just that despicable of a character. I'm just saying that the way that it's written is super fucking clever, and I fucks with it. All right, Terrence.
Great perspective, Sage.
Appreciate you. Terrence, let me know what's character number 2 on the list, bro.
All right. I think I'll keep my more obscure one for the last one. The second one for me is going to be an anime that you probably really shouldn't talk about liking in public, and that's Oreimo. The character that I don't like is Kirino, and I don't know if this is one will. I don't like that we have too much overlap. I really don't. It already feels like, man, maybe I should have sat this topic out. It feels like I'm picking all the ones everybody else is picking. But anyway, but okay. So maybe I'll approach this from a different angle than you will, Kill.
No.
So the reason why I don't like Kirino is that, and this once again goes back to the whole like tropes that I don't care for, is characters that can't express their true feelings, and so the series just kind of drags on as a result of them not expressing those feelings. And most of the time that falls under like tsundere characters, but in this case she kind of takes tsundere to the next level in terms of the series. We get 2 whole seasons where she pretty much just can't bring herself to admit her feelings. And I'm not going to go into the details of Oreimo. If you care about it, go watch it yourself. I'm not going to describe it on here and have people coming after me. But anyway, the show just would have been better if she just wasn't in it. And the same thing goes with the spiritual sequel that the author came up with, Eromanga Sensei, where it's like, once again, the kid sister character is like, series would be better off without. Because as a comedy, I like Oreimo, and I like Eromanga Sensei. They're funny, but then they have the whole little sister brother angle, and it's like, why are we doing this, Japan? Like, why is this a thing that you can just do and nobody question it? But I don't know. But yeah, that's my thing about it. Is I just don't like her just because she just adds an element to the show where it feels like we could have wrapped things up a long time ago if she was just straightforward about her feelings. So, yeah.
So the reason why we have shows like that is because they air at 5 o'clock in the morning. That's why they air late at night for like otaku who like have no life, and all they do is buy like action figures and shit like that. Like they buy like the models of the figurines and all, and they spend all their money on body pillows and shit like that. That's why we have those kind of anime. Like that's why those anime can get away, like borderline hentai, not even borderline hentai ideas made into like anime for everyone. That's how we wind up with that shit. Will, did Terrence step on your toes a little bit with that pick?
I'm sure Will can go into more detail than I did. I left a lot out, so I think there's a lot on the table Will can go into.
He definitely stepped, because I was actually sitting there balancing in my head 3 characters that I had in mind. I was like, Kirino, Bakugo, or Kyubey from Madoka Magica. I was like, I got these 3 in my head, but who should I go with? As soon as Terrence said Kirino, I was like, you know what? I'd rather just continue on with it. Okay, so like Terrence said, Kirino could have easily been out of this show, and we could have been done. Or she could have just went on and admitted it, and we could have been done. But we had 2 seasons. First season, it was what it was. It was a nice comedy and all this, but I still couldn't stand that little thing. I really couldn't. Now, second season come around, I'm just like, I'm willing to watch it because I want to see what happens. Because this can't go no further than 2 seasons. That's what my brain's telling me. I just hate that the people who behind this chose to go with the light novels decision with the whole like wedding thing. That's what I didn't like. It had him basically in a way kind of walk her down the aisle or walk to her in the church. And I'm just sitting here like, bruh, this is your sister. This is your sister. Remind me of who this is. You had a whole choice out there. She got black hair and she dressed in Gothic Lolita fashion. Why didn't you take her? You even had Manami out here. You had 2 different choices and you chose the motherfucker that lived with you and that got the same blood as you. Explain that to me. I hate this little thing because she constantly runs her brother ragged for like little shit. It never fails. Oh, I need you to come finish this visual novel for me. Come play this for me. I want you to understand my world. Understand me. I'm a model. I'm this. I'm that. I'm better than you. Get out of my room. I'm just like, I hate you so damn much right now. If only you just shut up, talked it out, we could have been out of here. But no, we had to keep you here, and your brother had to pick you because prior material. Ain't that some shit? Next.
Is it a case of first girl always wins?
If I had to say so, yeah. I hate to say it, but it had to be. She was the first
Even
one.
if first girl is your sister?
Even if.
Like the first chick that they introduced, like that's the one he gotta be with every time.
Yep. And it had to be his sister.
I'll go obscure for like my pick for number 2. So me and Keem have been watching separately, but we've been watching this show called Legend of the Galactic Heroes. Right. And there's this character in there that's like kind of an antagonist, even though you know he's not gonna last very long, but he's in there. And his name is Duke Braunschweig. And he's just like the worst, like the best example of every fucking noble piece of shit that you've ever met in an anime, or you've ever seen in an anime. Like he's just the fucking worst. He's overconfident. He believes in himself. He thinks he's deserving of things that he's not deserving of. He's just constantly trying to like cause problems. He doesn't like anytime something positive happens for like anybody that's not noble born, he's like got a problem with it. And then like they ramp it up because it's not bad. It's not bad enough that he's like just the worst noble. But then like at some point he gets in over his head and keeps fucking up and blows up one of his own planets because it's like a space opera. So like his people start like, because he keeps getting his ass whooped in battle because he's strategically incompetent and he's facing like one of the greatest geniuses of this whole anime universe, and he gets blown the fuck out bad. And like his people start like going and trying to get resources from other places, and they go to his own planets first, and they're like, look, we need resources up out of y'all. We taking them from you. And like the people are like, y'all always take it from us. So they get fed up and revolt one of his. He's like, they had the nerve to kill some noblemen. And like, instead of just killing the people who killed his nephew, he was like, fuck that. Nuke the whole planet. He wipes out a whole fucking planet just because they killed one person he knows. I'm like, bro, you just a piece of shit. You're a Dragon Ball Z character with no actual powers. Like, how in the fuck did you get away with this? So like, if that isn't bad enough, he has no conviction to who he is. He has no conviction as a person. He want what he want, and it don't matter like what the consequences are. And when it come time to pay the consequences, he like, look, can I get somebody else to pay him? Like, no, motherfucker, you did all of this. It's your fault. So like, at one point, when he finally get his ass beat, and it don't take long. Like his whole arc is like maybe 6 or 7 episodes. And it don't take long before it's like, look, you fucked up enough. It's over. The other nigga, like one of the main characters, the main character's name is Reinhard, or one of the main characters. And it's like Reinhard, he took over, bro. Like you tried to do a civil war, you lost. Your side lost. And in their culture, they have this thing where like, look, if you lose a battle, you gotta kill yourself. The seppuku type shit. And they was like, look, we already got it for you, you know, the poisoned wine. And they tried to set it up as like this noble thing. Like, look, you know, this is how nobles act. And the whole series, he's been telling you about how important noble culture is and how important it is to be a noble and this and that. And when it finally came time to do something that called upon you to like be a man or be an adult, like be just like a warrior, he was like, no, I don't want to. I'm scared. I don't want to die. And they was like, what you mean you don't want to die, bro? You kept talking about being a noble, bro. You a noble. This is what that means. Like, you lost honorably. Like, now die like a man. And he was like, no, I don't want to die like a man. I'm a bitch. And so, like, they had this, like, poisoned wine. And I'm like, there are worse ways to go out. And that man was like, I'm not drinking this shit. Fuck y'all. And they literally had to hold him down and force him to drink the poison wine so that he could die like a fucking man. I'm like, Jesus Christ, bro. Like, what kind of, you're just the worst sort of fucking person. He had he had no honor, no nothing. There was nothing good about him at all. So that's definitely my pick. That's the guy.
Bruh, he's crazy.
It was the whole thing is an experience. I have to say, like, if you haven't watched Legend of the Galactic Heroes, please watch it. Like I promise you, there's something for everybody. Even if you don't like sci-fi, go watch it. Like it's there's not a lot of science fiction jargon. It ain't gonna be a lot of like it's the 13 parsecs away, so Captain. Like it ain't a lot of that shit. If you're not a Star Trek fan, it's not like that. It's more about like politics and maneuvering and character development and shit like that. So please give it a shot. Even if you watch anime just for like, I don't care. Like I'm desperate, so I'll appeal to every person. If you watch anime for pretty boys, they got it. They got it. If you watch anime for like fandom and shipping, they got it. They got it. Just watch the show. Like I promise you, whatever you want, they can like. If you watching it for like really noble characters, it's about war. Now that bitch nigga I was subscribing, he ain't like that. But the main characters are. Just go watch it. All right. Rakeem, what's up, man? What character? I believe we're on character number 3 for you. And if you got any extras, just toss them in.
So since you talked so eloquently about Legend of Galactic Heroes, about that specific character, I actually thought about another character in Legend of Galactic Heroes I was gonna do, but as I was thinking, I was like, screw that. I'm gonna just give him a general one. Basically, for me, everyone in a position of power outside of the main cast, fuck all of them. There's so much collective incompetence in this show from people in leadership. So to break it down for people listening at home, in Legend of the Galactic Heroes, there are 2 major factions at war. You have the Empire faction that's on some World War I, Germany, high military, nationalistic, dictatorship stuff. And on the other side, you have a Free Planets Alliance. They're democracy, multicultural, trying to fight back against the Empire. Let me let you know right now, there ain't no real good guy as far as the groups. You think from that description, you know who the good guy is. That's not true. Because Legend of the Galactic Heroes does such a good job of allowing you to see just the dirtiest side of dictatorships and democracy. How both sides can be corrupted. How both sides have their idiosyncrasies, their imperfections, their problems between different groups. It's just that in this show, people in terms of leadership just who shouldn't have been there are so prominent. You'll see battlefield commanders who will make the most worst tactical decision you would ever think of. It be pointed out to them clearly what's going to happen, why it's a bad decision, and the logistics of it on top of that. They're getting super detailed about why the whole decision is bad. And they're like, but I ain't no bitch though. And just go out and do it. And then their whole fleet get annihilated. That happens over and over and over again. I'm like, there's no fucking way you shouldn't even have a military at this point. It's so freaking dumb, man. But yeah, as far as characters I hate, basically like any of the noble generals from that army era, that Civil War crap, the freaking Democratic Party or whatever they had, that group in the Free Planets Alliance that was on that stupid shit they were doing. F all of them. All the politicians in this show suck. I think that was the point, but they all suck. I hate all of them pretty much equally. Well, not all of them. There's a few of them who are all right, here and there. Unfortunately, a lot of those don't live either. But yeah, that pissed me off. As far as honorable mention, I guess this is kind of a hot take, but not really. Going back to a more popular anime, we'll go back with Naruto again. A personal character of mine I could not stand over time, Orochimaru. I just got sick of him. You ever seen a character who's just like, I'm so self-important, I'm the main villain? Man, you ain't crap. We got to the end of that show, and who was Naruto fighting? He wasn't fighting you, he was fighting Sasuke. Sasuke, you tried to capture that dude, he wanted you to capture him. He wanted to get away from him. He manipulated you to get to his brother. Everything that happened with Orochimaru was like, oh, I'm the main villain, but somebody else took something I had or some cells I had or a curse mark I had and then used it for something else and then left me in the dust. By the end of the show, he was super irrelevant. Now he's showing up PTA meetings about Boruto. Now he's showing up PTA meetings. Now he's asking, how you doing, son?
Well, Keem, to be honest, that sounds like he realized his place. He was like, man, you look, I'm not that guy. I'm not going to be that guy. I better just go, I better go ahead and have myself a child and show up to these PTA meetings and mind my business.
Just like,
Before I get
That's
folded by Sasuke for the 50th time.
Just such a. I would like, bro. His first appearance, his first arc, the Sound Village stuff. When you first heard about his experiments, that stuff is endearing. That stuff is interesting. But he really outwarmed his welcome after a while. Especially moved on to the later Akatsuki arcs and got more involved with the war. He was, in the unfashioned Civil War, and he was to some degree involved with like Kabuto and all that stuff going on. But he wasn't really a factor in the war like that compared to everybody else. It just, I don't know, man. Just that character. After a while, I was like, bro, just get this guy off my screen. That's a thing to me in like shonen anime that like those early arc villains, set the tone for future arcs. But sometimes a character can outstay their welcome, and then like they'll have little set pieces where they show up here and there, and then nobody knows what to do with them anymore because we've moved on from you. That's why like some of the Z fighters don't have prominent roles because, the creator was like, hey man, I got new characters now. I didn't really like y'all that much to begin with, and I'm ready to move on. But the fans like y'all, so I'm gonna have you do a few things here. I'm looking at you, Tien. I'm sorry, Tien. I like you, but
wait a minute. Why is my guy taking strays? My favorite character.
I love Tien, but it's the truth. It's like that happens sometimes. That's how I feel like Orochimaru. Like he felt like, I thought he literally kind of was. He was a Sannin. He was a ninja of the past. There was a whole arc before that. His time had passed. His time really had passed by the end of like Shippuden and stuff. Like I was done with Orochimaru. Let's move on, guys. Yeah, but that's it for me. Got tired.
Yeah.
Terrence, what's up, man? Give me your third, and if you got any other ones, just go ahead and empty the clip, bro.
My clip is kind of looking dry, so I only got one in the chamber. No,
right.
But the one that I have is one that I'm sure no one's gonna get here. All my other ones are too generic, so this one at least will be standout. This is from an anime that I watched back early in college. It came out like around like 2009, I think. And this, just to clarify, this was like a period when I was just watching anime to watch anime. Like I had gotten to college and I had gotten high-speed internet for like the first time, and so I learned about like all the sites where all the anime were. This was pre, huh?
Sail the 7 seas, young man.
Well, what's with you always talking about the 7 seas?
Rumble, young man, rumble. Rumble, young man, rumble.
No, but this. I mean, this was before like Crunchyroll and like all the other stream sites were really a thing. So this was like still we were still in territory where you were only watching anime through like Toonami, or you were watching it on like, I don't know, I've forgotten like what the sites were back in the day. But anyway, like animefreak.net or something like that.
That was me.
Yeah. But anyway, I said all that to say that like this anime was just one of those where I saw it and I was like, I want to check this out. Like the synopsis looked interesting. And the anime is called Asura Crying. And the character that I'm going to talk about, his name is Tomoharu Natsume. It's the main character. This character is so wishy-washy, man. He's so wishy-washy. And it just made the show hard to watch, because the show was actually kind of cool, because just a brief synopsis, it's been a long time since I watched this, and so I had to like look up a Wikipedia for it to kind of get myself up to speed with it. Pretty much the show is kind of like, it's sort of mecha, sort of not. It's like they have spirits in the show that look like mechs, but they're not really mechs. But anyway, like the characters in the show, they can form contracts with like spirits or whatever, and they essentially get like this mech or whatever being it is. Like I said, it's been so long since I watched it, I can't really put together a good synopsis of it. But anyway, this main character, he gets a spiritual partner. He gets his mech and he like fights evil in the show and whatever, there's nothing like highly original or anything like that. But he's just so wishy-washy, and he's one of those characters where, because he's the MC, he's got to have a little harem going on, or at least 2 girls that like him. And he's just so whatever in the show that it's like hard to understand, like, why do these girls even like this guy? And he just feels like a blank slate, which I know that's kind of like the idea, because the idea is for you have this character that pretty much anybody can fit themselves into, and it's like, yeah, I could be like that guy. And like how we've talked about how like you're not that guy. No, you're not that guy. Even when the character's a blank slate, you're still not that guy. But
nope.
Yeah, I just do not like this character. He was just mediocre to me, and the show overall was just mediocre. I really don't know why. I watched all of it. It was 2 seasons. I watched all of it just because I could, and well, I mean,
Damn, you came back for the second?
Huh?
You came back for the second?
It was, it's one of those shows where it was mediocre, but it was mediocre enough to keep going with it. And yeah, at least it's one of those shows where I could say I did it, and that's kind of it. So that's my answer is the MC from Oscar Crying, just because he's just so wishy-washy and boring that I didn't like him back then, and looking back on the memories, I was like, I still don't like him. So there you go. There's my obscure show for the day.
For this show to be so obscure and to be so old, I do know what anime you're talking about.
Well, I knew you would know what I'm talking about. If there's anyone here that would know, I knew you would know.
I almost watched it because it is a mech show, and I do kind of like mechs. But I mean, when I say kind of, I like mechs a lot. But like, I watched the first episode, and then within like 10 minutes, I'm like, all right, you're not grabbing me. This protagonist, he kind of nothing. I was like, all right, let's cut this bullshit off and let's move on to something else that I might like. So I mean, but the fact that even though he was like so wishy-washy, I mean, like it stuck with you enough for you to be like, look, on a list of I don't like these motherfuckers, he came up. So I mean, I guess he left enough of an impression for that. Will, empty the clip for us. Your number 3 and any honorable mentions you got.
All right, so for my number 3, I'm actually putting in 2 characters in this spot because they actually kind of work together from the show that they're on, and this is from a show that came out in 2010. But I watched it in like 2013 alongside Daily Lives of High School Boys. The show is called, and hear me out, it's called Rainbow. Nisha no Rokubo Nishichine. Yeah.
The prison show.
We know what Rainbow is.
Oh, I'm glad to know that my boys know. Thank you, because I feel like I was alone in that. So I watched it, and for those who don't know, a quick little synopsis of it. It's basically placed around the World War I period in Japan, and it's based around these seven guys, like basically teenagers, and they're all in jail for something different. Like one of them, his name is Mario. He's in there for basically exacting justice on a teacher when he found out that he had, sexually assaulted a female student. He basically beat the living hell out of him, just like, look, don't do it again. And then after that, they put him in jail. There's another one. All of them have like some sort of like tragic backstory to them, but when 6 of them get there, there's already an older person there. And they end up at what is called a reform school. It's a prison. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And I noticed our producer is left, but yeah. Yeah. They're at this prison, and you know the deal. If you know how prisons kind of operate in actual real time, get in, get booked, get your uniform, basically kind of get patted down before you get to your cell. And within that process, you meet 2 people in particular that stand out. And they are villains of some sort, but not necessarily the central villains of this show, at least for this part of it anyways. Ishihara the guard and the quote-unquote prison doctor, Gisuke. Now, when I mention Ishihara, that is one sadistic man that I cannot stand. Bars. And he just... He is violent for no reason. If you so much as slightly get out of hand or even do something like very little, he's on your ass. He is here to hurt you with the baton or whatever he may have in hand. He's going to hurt you. And I'm just like, this man here just beating on every one of these quote unquote inmates or students for no reasons. I'm just like, what's wrong with him? Now, the other man I mentioned, Mr. Gisuke, that man there is the epitome of scum. Because to make a good comparison to him, as much as I don't want to do this on this podcast, he's the equivalent of what we would call a Republican. Doing the wrong shit to get called out on it later. And Ishihara and Gisuke work together. So Gisuke being a doctor, he basically violates these young men in this prison when they get sent to him. Trigger warning, I'm very sorry. But he does that, and Ishihara sends them, and he don't mind doing it because he's just like, oh, you going to see the doctor? Good luck. And yeah, numerous times he does that, and it even caused like a friend of the older guy, the older main character. It happened to his friend. He ended up taking himself out because of it, because of the situation. So, long story short, it kind of keeps happening, but people managed to stop this man. And fast forward to the time skip where they actually see him outside, and he's getting ready to run for a political position.
Mm.
And the guys managed to see him outside because they finally got released. They called him and told him, "We know everything you do. You go out there and tell them, or we putting you out of your misery right here."
Mm-hmm.
That's what they did. So he went out, and they went out, they recorded him and had him report that he's out of the race because of the things that he did while working at that school. Completely and utterly evil people got what they deserved because Ishihara lives a horrible life after the fact. Like, some bullshit went down at the school. I don't want to go too in depth with it because I really want y'all to watch the show. If you've never watched it, by all means, please go. Great show. I loved it. Even with the little melodrama that it does have, I love it. I love it. It's a show that'll stay with me. But please, watch Rainbow. And you'll see why I hate those two characters. Hell, read the manga too. You'll definitely have a reason to hate them.
Look, if they getting down like that in the anime, I don't want to know what they getting up to in the manga. The manga always worse somehow. Like, it always be like some rougher shit going on in the manga. It don't matter with the anime.
Yeah.
Like, somehow it's always like more rough and more like horrible. So
Yeah, you're right, but it's a great show. Go watch it.
okay, so I have like 3, but let's just go ahead and rush through them. So first, there's Wong from Gundam Zeta, and if you haven't seen Gundam Zeta, this is gonna be like a really obscure pick for y'all. Wong sucks because he's just an abusive asshole. Like, there's no reason for him to be abusive. Like, there's literally an episode where he shows up and beats the shit out of the main character. Like, there's no, like, they explain it in like some kind of side material. It's like, okay, yeah, I guess, but like, if for the most part, they like the main character's kind of a little shit, but he's also an ace pilot, and he's like the only person that's capable of piloting like the Gundam. Well, not capable, but like he's the best pilot they have for the Gundam. And Wong was like, I don't care about none of that. You disrespected me, and so now I'm finna beat your ass. And like, in an uncomfortable fashion, for a show where people die every episode. Motherfuckers is blowing up in mobile suits. It don't matter. Like, he's still, I'm literally looking at this like, bro, that's a child you doing this to. Like, you a grown man. And I mean, to be fair to Camille, like, to be fair to Wong, Camille was like such an asshole to one guy that like called him a girl because he was like, Camille's a girl's name. And then Camille proceeded to like literally ruin that man's life. Like, he killed all of his friends, embarrassed him, and then murdered him. Like, he killed all of his friends, killed his girlfriend, embarrassed him repeatedly, then murdered him. So like, Camille can be a little bit of a shit, but like, I was still looking at this ass whooping that Wong handed out, and I was like, God damn. Like, Camille was on the ground, unmoving, and he was still kicking the shit out of him. I'm like, Jesus Christ. I don't think all this is necessary. So I never liked that character. I always hated him. I also hate Emma from Gundam Zeta, but like, we're not gonna go into that. And then the other character I hate that's also an honorable mention is Broly from Dragon Ball Z. I fucking hate Broly. When I tell y'all I can't stand that motherfucker, like, he just such a whiny piece of shit. Like, at your big age of, you look 40. I promise you look 40. Like, at your big age, for you to still be crying and hollering about like some man crying when you was a child in a crib, that's some shit you shouldn't really remember. Kakarot wouldn't stop crying. Like, just shut your grown ass up, boy. Ain't nobody trying to hear that shit. Like, for him to, and then that was the thing that turned him into like this unstoppable rage monster that people like because they like bad characters. That's really the only explanation I got. Like, that character, he sucks. And then like the way he died or the way he lost sucked. Because he literally beat their ass for the whole episode, the whole movie. Like, I remember being a child. Like, this is an opinion I've held since I was 15. Like, I was 15, my homeboy at school, my homeboy Mallory gave me the tape. Like, he gave me this is how old it is. He gave me a VHS tape of Dragon Ball Z Broly. I think movie 8. I believe that's movie 8. And like, I was like, all right, let's see what's going on. And I already didn't like this film because it made my boy Vegeta look like a whole bitch. You know, he's the legendary Super Saiyan. There's nothing I can fight. Even if you get folded, fight. Now I know they was getting their ass beat. At one point, Broly like punt kicked the dude. I was like, Jesus Christ, this is terrible. But like, fight, bro. But like, he beat their ass for the whole movie, and then finally they found like, oh, you know, he got this little part in his gut that I just happened to hit. You ain't know nothing about that. How in the fuck? Fuck that. Fuck that character and fuck that movie and fuck all its returns. The only good version of Broly is Dragon Ball Super Broly. They made him a tragic character. Like by the end of Dragon Ball Super Broly, I was legit sad. Like sad in a way that I never am for Dragon Ball Z, because Dragon Ball Z don't make you feel real emotions. I was legitimately like hurt for this man. Like he was getting folded by Super Saiyan Blue Gogeta. And you understand, like this man, he never had no real connection, no human connections. Every person he's ever been around used him, abused him, treated him like shit. And this man Gogeta was like, I don't care about none of that. I'm about to fold you and I'm about to end you. And if he didn't get wished away, he'd have just lived a really sad, depressing ass life and then died. That would have been like, that was some real pathos. Like that was real drama. And I felt for that man. But like his other version, his regular, fuck him. Fuck him. And number 3, which is really number 1. This was like the real outfield character I was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
When I tell y'all I hate Suzaku from Code Geass, I fucking despise that.
I knew he was coming.
Man, I hate that character. When I'm playing like Super Robot Wars 30 and he's in there. I've never used him. I like it, I'm sure his unit is great. I'm sure his Lancelot is cool. Fuck him. He fucking sucks. Like, maybe it's because I'm black and I see it through the lens of a black person, but like the Britannian Empire came over there as a colonizing force and literally took y'all country. And your dad was like, they ain't finna take us. I see what they do to them other countries. Like, we fighting back, bro. We fighting to the last. Respect. And Suzaku's bitch ass was like, nah, we can live at their feet and maybe one day change it and fix. Fuck that. We ain't fixing shit. We putting foot in ass until we all down. Like, we not surrendering. We not giving up. And Suzaku was like, nah, we can surrender. We can give up. And he like became a dog of the Britannian Empire. And I'm like, man, fuck this dude. I can't stand him. Like, I don't like, people still like that character. And I'm like, bro, if you don't get this piece of shit out of here. And he had the nerve to sit there and run around mad at Lelouch, talking about some goddamn, you killed Euphemia. Shut your bitch ass up. Nobody cared that he killed Euphemia. Like, I understand Euphemia died in a really sad way. We talked about that. And I was hurt because she was like one of the few pure characters on the show. But like, I don't care, bro. Like, you looking at these people, they've literally turned the Japanese into second-class citizens. They took y'all name. They don't even call y'all Japanese. They call y'all by the number that, like, you the 11th group captured, and so we gonna call y'all 11s. And you the only one, you live in a life of privilege. You get to live with the Britannian people. You get to hang out with them, while your actual people is out there suffering under their foot. And you got the nerve to sit there and be mad at Lelouch. He the only one that's like, look, now, is he doing it for the right reason? No, but he fighting back against them dudes. And you out here like, man, the Zero's got to be stopped. Nigga, you got to be stopped. You got to get up out of here. I hate this so much. Like, that's part of the reason I was never able to go back to that show. Like, they brought it back. They did a revival. I'm like, I don't want to see this shit because I got to deal with this character who should have been, somebody should have put a bullet in him long time ago. Except he can't be killed. Like, I just forgot. I just remembered that they gave him the Geass ability to live. Like, in other words, he got the plot. He literally has plot armor as his superpower. Like, Lelouch was like, I command you to live. And suddenly it gave him, like, special abilities. He could get around people with time stop. He was faster than everybody else. I'm like, how the fuck does this work? Because he got plot armor, Sage. Just shut up and take it. Fuck that character. Fuck that character and fuck whoever came up with him. I'm sorry.
That was the rage moment that we needed. That was it right there.
All good, my guy.
And actually, Rakeem brought up a good point. I should have known he was a piece of shit when he was piloting the Lancelot. Lancelot was a fuck nigga. His pilot had to be a fuck nigga. Thank you, Rakeem. Anybody else got something they want to get off their chest? Because I legit might have just done this podcast just to rage about Suzaku. I'm not gonna lie. Go ahead. Anybody else? Y'all got any characters? Like, did y'all think of somebody?
Well, you mentioned them much earlier in the podcast. I'm gonna go ahead and throw them out there. I'll bear this cross. Fucking Bakugo. All right. So look here. I can't stand him because at first he didn't come off too sideways to me. So I'm just like, he got his power, so be it. But once I kind of started seeing how he treated Deku, I'm just like, okay, you kind of being like the rich kid to his poor kid, and I really don't like that. That is not cool to me. And once Deku finally ended up getting some sort of a power because of All Might, it's like he turned it up a notch. Like he's like, oh look, you can't be here. You can't stand next to me. I'm better than you. I've had it since I was born. Go out. You a zero. And I'm just like, why are you like this? Who pissed in your cereal this morning? Who pissed in your tea this morning? I need to know. And it's bad because his mom is actually pretty good people. I don't know where he gets that from. And I'm just like, every episode, I'm just like, you're making me not like you even further because you keep shitting on Deku because he keeps hurting himself with his powers, trying to save your goofy ass. And just like, as much as I hate to mention what Long Beach Griffey did in one episode, I just felt like he needed to be folded one good time by Deku. If Deku could fold him one good time, he'll shut up. He'll shut up. But as I continue to watch, and I'm still not caught up on the latest of My Hero Academia right now, it isn't that I so much as hate him now. I just feel like he needs to be humbled. He needs to be humbled. If he can be humbled one good solid time, I guarantee you, he'll turn over a new leaf and just use his powers like he's supposed to. Because at some point in time, I felt like maybe he was going to end up being a fucking villain if given the chance. But I don't know. We'll have to see how that goes. But what you got, Sage? Talk to me.
So it's not that I hate Bakugo. I don't like him, but I hate his fans. I hate the fans.
Definitely.
It's like, oh yeah, he would be a better protagonist than Deku. No, the fuck he wouldn't.
No, he
This
wouldn't.
nigga a piece of shit. He
Right.
sucks. That's but like one thing that I will say this: Bakugo is well written in two things. Like one, he's never gonna be a villain because I always remember that one line that he had when they captured him, and they was like, "We're gonna turn you," and he was like, "You'll never turn me. I've fallen in love with the face that All Might makes when he's winning." And I was like a cold line when he said that. He was just like, I just like what it looked like when All Might win, and I'm gonna always be the hero, and I'm gonna always shit on y'all. I kind of fuck with that, but like overall, I do hate that character. Well, I do dislike the character, but I dislike his fans more. Like he's so much worse. Like people like, oh, he's like Hiei. Oh, he's like Vegeta. No, he's not. He's not like Hiei. He's not like Hiei. He's not like Vegeta.
Mm-mm.
I understand he's a rival character, but like he's picking on somebody. Like Hiei not picking on. He's picking on Kuwabara, but not really. Like Kuwabara, he fired back, and he's
comedy
like
angle.
It's a comedy angle. Like they ain't no like this man Bakugo is literally telling people like, hey, bro, go kill yourself.
He's a toxic rival if he's a rival.
Exactly.
He ain't no Vegeta. I'm not trying to hit at like Goku is not bothered by Vegeta at all. Like because he keeps surpassing Vegeta, and Vegeta sees it. Vegeta can see it in his face. Like Goku sees it. Goku like man, I'm better than you, and Vegeta like he is better than me. He just gotta accept it. Every arc, like Goku will like Vegeta like achieve some new power and show off, and Vegeta, and Goku will be like, and like I got this. Like even when they got the same powers, somehow Goku still managed to win. Like when he beat Hit, you just like y'all got the same Super Saiyan form. Like how are you like? Why are you still losing? And the manga explained it. The anime didn't explain it. The manga was just, the anime was just like, look, it's just Goku. He just better than that dude. That's why. But Bakugo, like I will say, in reluctant defense of Bakugo, there is a well-written aspect to his character because he's like. He's the all NBA of your high school and who just suddenly went to college, or like the best player in college that suddenly went to the NBA, and all of a sudden he got to realize, oh shit, all these motherfuckers is good.
Yep.
And like he's constantly trying, like he came from this area where he was supposed to be the best, the number one, and he thought he was just gonna smooth ride his way all the way to the top. And then he got to UA and learned very quickly, no, I'm not. There are people that are better than me. There are people that have gone through more than me. There are people who are from like hero families. Like that smooth ride to the top, it don't exist, and I'm gonna have to work. And that's part of why he angry all the time. That's part of why he's like constantly pissed. Because when you said he got to be humbled, no, he needs to be humbled by Deku. Being humbled himself, that ain't gonna get it because he get humbled all the time. When he fought All Might limited his power like by a shit ton, and he punched that dude so hard he threw up. He like limited his power. And he's still like, bear in mind, like All Might at that point wasn't the All Might of the past, and he still limited his power. So it's like double limiting. He could put himself at like several percentages lower than what he should be. Punched dude in the stomach one good time, and Bakugo folded, threw up. Like it just like looked bad, which I enjoyed because still fuck him. But like I understand why people like. I understand his character, why he's so angry. I don't understand why people like him. fuck him. I get the
I
writing
understand.
behind him, but just like he's just such a toxic piece of shit that I'm like, look, man, get this man out. And then just to say that he should be the main character in place of Deku is out of control. What's going on, Terrence?
I'll say this: the thing about Bakugo, and characters like him in fiction, and I'm not gonna go on like a tangent on this, but it's kind of like like Iron Man. Iron Man and Dr. House, like characters like that. It's like the asshole where it's like in the movies, we love these characters, but in real life, you would absolutely hate this person. And so Bakugo is kind of like that. It's like the fans, it seems like they really like him for whatever reason. But if you were to actually have somebody like that in real life, you wouldn't stand him at all. So I don't know. That kind of stuff is just weird. I put it that way.
That's big facts, Terrence. And also, Sage, you definitely said what I didn't say out loud. I said he need to be humble. I didn't say by Deku, but in my heart, I'm just like, it should be him. I want Deku to fold his ass like a fucking t-shirt.
The only way he's ever gonna learn is to get folded by Deku, because otherwise, like he's been like he fights villains and he's seen like he went up against what's my man's name? Hot Cold.
Mm-hmm.
He went up against
Todoroki.
Yeah, Todoroki. He went up against
I thought you were
Shoto
talking
Todoroki.
about an actual villain named Hot Cold.
They got some silly names, so that is possible.
They do got some goofy ass names. But he went up against Shoto Todoroki and got like he won that fight, but it was obvious he wasn't supposed to win that fight. Like Todoroki clearly wasn't gonna use like the other side of his powers. And so like he won. He won and he was pissed. He was like, fuck, I couldn't have beat you if you actually tried. Like, I hate this. Like, he was so pissed that they like had to tie him up and tie him down so he couldn't talk because he was like, so they was like, look, you got the number one. He's like, I don't want that shit. Like, it's not worth it. And like that, like seeing him like clearly noticed time and time again, and without spoiling it, it happens more in the manga. Like, and so of course you're gonna see it more in the anime. Like seeing him realize his limits over and over again and get angry amuses me to no end, because still fuck him. And like his fans, fuck them too. I'm sorry. Like y'all got to get over it. And I know Rakeem is kind of a fan. I just mean the fans that are like, I prefer him to Deku. He's a much better character than Deku. Like
the nut huggers.
Can I just
go ahead, Keem?
I'm so tired of this anti-Deku propaganda online.
Oh
like,
man,
everybody.
Here we go.
I know it's like a number podcast.
You.
If that's one thing I hate, is people who come like,
Jesus.
man, he cried. Oh, he's not one shot and everything. Oh, his powers hurt him. Fuck all of y'all. This is a child coming to his own in a power he can't possibly understand because he's never had powers before.
Grew up getting bullied all the time.
Look, so like, I gotta get it. I'm so tired of that argument. It just doesn't make any sense. And we have to stop this comparison of Shonen. We talked about this before in the podcast. We gotta stop comparing everything to Dragon Ball Z and Naruto and these god characters. Let's be very honest about here. Like, these overpowered characters, their character development becomes stunted because they get so powerful.
Right.
They struggle early, but then it becomes so overpowered, you lose that element of them progressing naturally. And like it's when like you find somebody actually progress naturally, you just like, you can't take it anymore because you've seen niggas. You've seen gentlemen. You've seen gentlemen power up.
Just say it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, yeah.
My fellas.
My fellas. My fellas. But you see these characters like jump up in power so much and power scaling and blow through these enemies that when you see a character who actually is progressing at a normal pace like a normal person would. He's in school, he's learning, he's done an internship, he's gone through training, he's mentored under other heroes. He has had a natural progression for a character, and people are like, fuck this,
it's not
fast because
enough.
He ain't overpowered. It's not fast enough for me. But that could just be a sign of times too. We're just we got to have it right now, kind of.
I mean, that could be a case of that. Yeah, it
is a lot of that, but also it's like, I think with overpowered characters that people never know when to end their show. Like,
that's a great point.
If your character can blow up a planet, it's time to end the show. Like, damn it, that's the end of the show. Even like with Dragon Ball Z, they gave you another end point. Like, Goku now has a power where he can counter any attack without thinking about it. I'm like, yeah, it sounds like it's time to wrap that on up. Like you introduce a protagonist that like, oh, you know, even though you got it, I got a better version, or I'm better than what you got. Like, no, that's dumb. It was time to wrap the show up. But yeah, I agree. And it like this thing about Deku, and I don't want to like get into this too long, but I do have to say it. I'd cry too if every bone in my body broke every time I use my power. Like, in fact, ain't no heroism. I've been like, I'm gonna be a hero. Yeah, I'm being a hero. And then as soon as I like use my powers and everything broke, look, y'all on your own. I don't know what's gonna happen. All for one for all is out here taking everything. They ain't got nothing to do with it, but I'm out, bro. I'm out.
Exactly.
Like, all for one is about to fold. All y'all, they ain't got nothing to do with me. I'm finna go back to my mom's house, and we gonna figure something else out. I'm gonna be a public servant.
Exactly. Shit.
So he better than me. That's all I can tell you. So I'm sorry. Like y'all got a lot of nerve acting like y'all would be any different if using the power, just the use of it once broke every bone in your body. Even when he learned the ability to like do the little finger flick, it shattered every bone in his hands. Like it got so bad, and y'all know this. You watch the show. It got so bad he can't use his arms for those powers anymore. He has to use his legs now.
Yeah, he has permanent scarring.
He has permanent. I wish I might. I when I was a kid, I wanted to be a hero. I want to be one that bad. It's one thing to use power, like to get your ass beat in the course of a fight, and maybe you punch somebody so hard you broke your arm. But every time you use your powers, you breaking shit. I'm finna retire. I'm finna go. I'll skip those powers. Even if I wanted to be a hero, I'm finna go make some money and I'll turn into Iron Man or something, or Batman. Them powers would be a last resort if I'm in danger. Never mind y'all. Y'all will be all right. If I'm personally in danger, I guess I use these powers to save myself. Otherwise, you don't get the fuck up out of here. Like it's no way. So Deku is a lot better than most people are, and people not giving him credit for it. And I don't know how we managed to get on this hell of a tangent, but I think it was worth it. But I think that's enough for this week's episode.
Yes,
and if you enjoyed it, I need a few things from you. I need you to do us a favor. I need you to hit that subscription button on YouTube. I need you to follow us on Twitter. Follow us on TikTok. Tell your friends about us. And do me a personal favor and have an excellent week. Peace.